Magic is something everybody knows about, but much fewer believe in. It comes to us not through textbooks or any accepted education, but rather through fictional stories and delusional proclamations. But what is magic, really? And how can something so apparently fake haunt the stories of the rational world? And inspire feelings of meaning. Magic is older than religion. Archaic indications of it come from caves in France, with underground paintings made 20,000 years ago. Archaeologists presume the purpose of this anthropomorphic animal painting to be anything from hunting magic to ensure a successful hunt, to perhaps an image of an ancient god meant to instill those who gaze upon it with divine inspiration. To us, it may look a little silly, but to people who saw it thousands of years ago, it was a spiritual experience. Legs and feet of a human, ears and antlers of a stag, eyes of an owl, the tail of a horse, and the beard of a wizard. And a schlong. Indeed, this painting in Les Trois Frères, the Three Brothers, in Montesquieu, France, is known to history as the Sorcerer. This entity is no priest nor rabbi, nor even a preacher. He is a sorcerer, a doer of magic. Found in the very same caves are hundreds of handprints sprawled across the earthen ceiling. Similarly mysterious. Most archaeologists believe these prints symbolize a reaching towards the transcendental realm, an entrance to the spirit world. It's platform 9 3/4. The wardrobe to Narnia. Oddly enough, this exact same design is found on the other side of the world in a totally different culture. In Cueva de las Manos, in Santa Cruz, Argentina. It's been dated to roughly 15,000 years old. How weird is it that two cultures on completely different sides of the world had the inspiration to make the same work of art? Is reaching towards the realm of the gods a universally human idea? Or is it merely an enchanting coincidence? Both the hand images as well as the sorcerer have been modified and added onto by generations over thousands of years. Though every addition to these cave paintings is older than ancient, these are collective works, improved upon over the centuries. That's the nature of magic. It's been passed down from decade to decade, from millennia to millennia. It's been passed down for so long that it looks fictional to most eyes. Yet, there's something about it that keeps us fascinated, an eyebrow-raised at reality, talked about in stories that aren't supposed to be real. Indigenous shamans are the original magicians, the first to pierce the ceiling of the cave and guide others through the transcendental currents of the underworld. They embrace the realm of spirit, and so serve as the religious foundation of indigenous cultures. Not unlike the role clerics play in modern society, except shamans take you to the transcendental realm instead of just telling you about it. That's what magic is, really. A practice that thins the veil between the material and the ethereal. Shamans have done it forever, and occult practitioners have done it for millennia. Regardless of their exact creed, magicians of the West and Middle East dabble in what's called the occult, which literally means hidden. There's been a lot of motivation to remain hidden throughout history. But there was a bright side to living in the shadows, because there it was learned that clarity can be achieved in the dark. Now, the arcane arts have become less quiet. Witches and wizards are straight up fashionable, but let's not get lost in the trend. Mages across ages have quietly engaged with a hyper-reality from which enchanted futures grow. This is Magick, the story you never knew. Hey, just a brief transmission from hyperspace here. This channel is going to be changing from the story you never knew to Grant, because Grant is my name. But don't you worry, the story you never knew isn't going anywhere. In fact, you can expect this rad show a lot more often. Maybe not a lot more, but definitely more often than I've been releasing. It's a low bar. But changing the name to me opens the door for other ideas as well. See, Story Never Knew is all about big picture, the world at large, history, epic phenomena, and other things I make here will also be epic, but they'll be more weird and personal instead of weird and big picture. Here's an example. Wherever your mind wanders during daydreams, that's the magician talking to you. Oh. The symbol of ultimate reality. As you can see, no matter what, I am going to send it. Expect more. Expect excitement. And you know what else is exciting? We're getting back to the video now. See you at the end. What would be able to take me from the person I am now to the person I wish I was? That'd take some magic, let me tell you. Oh, you may notice that magic there was spelled with a K instead of just a C. The CK version was originally coined by Aleister Crowley, 20th century magician and bisexual slutscapator. Worldofmagic.com puts it best when they say, Crowley added the K to the end of the word to separate his craft from that of magicians and illusionists who performed stage tricks for entertainment. So, magic with a C, pulling rabbits out of hats. Magic with a K is spells, invocations, all that dope stuff. Clearly, we're talking about the K version today. First, I got a simple breathing technique down. Then, I synchronized that technique with an image in my mind's eye of the sun rising, then setting, and the moon rising, then setting. Sometimes I'd even do it out in the sun, to absorb its power. A little bit of it at least. From there, I awakened my energy meridians via breathing, visualizations, and words of power. This unlocked a clarity of mind that let me expand my consciousness from above my head to above my city, then country, planet, solar system, galaxy, and the entire universe. From that scale, my being could access energy more easily from the source of creation, but I had to stay grounded. So with strings of bright white light in the words to vibrate them, I anchored my consciousness to the edges of the universe. A lot of my information on magic comes from this book called High Magic by Damien Eccles. It was the first book to explain all this esoteric whatchamahoosit in a way that actually made sense to me. Anyone can do it, though be warned, as eloquent Damien puts it, you get out what you put in. This is about doing, not just believing or pretending. After a solid 5 months of practice, I can safely say that my mental state is better than it's ever been since I became a moody teenager. Though I am still a novice. A neophyte, even. That got me about halfway through the book. The second half, it steps it up a notch higher. More on that later. For now, I'll just say I am stoked to keep strolling down the path of spells and invocations that'll open me up to forces beyond my comprehension. A direct line to the divine. Hopefully the gods will have me. Up to them, really. I'm just gonna keep following directions and putting my own dope spin on things. That was a fast-paced and anecdotal example of magic, which is cool. But now, let's get into what exactly magic has turned into since it branched off from shamanism. My favorite, reasonably modern definition comes from 20th century magician Dion Fortune. Magic is the science and art of causing changes in consciousness at will. This may seem like a puzzling definition at first. To many, magic is an esoteric series of pentagrams, tarot decks, and try-hard overpriced spellbooks. How the heck did consciousness get involved? Well, you can think of robes, candles, wands, incense as accessories to magic, not the practice itself, because magic has everything to do with your state of mind. But how about another definition? Eliphas Levi, in his book Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic, says, "Magic is the traditional science of the secrets of nature, which has come down to us through the mages." You'll notice Eliphas spells magic without the K. That's because he did his stuff before Aleister Crowley was born. Remember, Crowley was the guy who coined magic with a K in the first place. Dion Fortune and her idea that magic has everything to do with changes in consciousness comes to us from the 1900s. And by that time, science had already taken over as the chief investigator of the secrets of nature. While both these definitions use the word science to describe magic, the important thing here is the phrase secrets of nature, aka the mysteries of the world. How does reality work? The secrets of nature. Because of the triumphs of science, magic was now confined to consciousness more than to matter. Does this mean that magic got booted out? Removed from the mighty role of the spear that pierces the veil of the secrets of nature? Seems so.
Of course science replaced magic. No longer does society need archaic pre-religious shenanigans to study reality. We need graphs, latex gloves, and peer review. The rational West has done away with the naive preconception of yester-millennium. And now, magic must hide in the last corner of mystery that it can. Consciousness.
The final frontier.
Even if you agree that science is the only truth detector we need, I'm not saying you're a dork necessarily. Science has replaced magic for good reason as the tool to understand the material world. Its effectiveness need only be demonstrated by innovations in medicine and technology. Nobody's thanking wizards for that. Here's the thing though, the most important logical revelations throughout history were emotional experiences. This is the secret that, well, it's a secret, I guess. No one told you about it, probably. I didn't hear about it until I started reading all these weird books, listening to crazy people. This is so groundbreaking that I'm gonna need to change the background and maybe some clothes. Change it up, you know? Woo! Ha! Oh, looking good. Did you know that René Descartes, a pivotal founder of rational thought, the guy who said, "I think, therefore I am," that guy had a vision of an angel that inspired it all. A 19-year-old ne'er-do-well in the summer of 1619, Descartes was traveling Europe looking for nothing in particular until he joined a legion of soldiers set to invade Prague. They did just that, and when it was all over, Descartes laid asleep in a barracks. That night, August 17th of 1619, an angel came to him and said, "The conquest of nature is to be achieved through number and measurement." That's a poetic way of saying that cold numbers and data will reveal truth. That's right, René Descartes, Mr. I think, therefore I am, was a mouthpiece for an angel that told him that math and science are cool. The rational foundations of the West were inspired by a magical experience. It's kind of a dirty secret. For many who value science, thanking a miracle for a rational revelation is a bit naughty. And here's the big thing. It's pretty well known that acts of genius are often associated with weird states of consciousness. Descartes' angelic intervention occurred in a dream, and Einstein, born in the same town in which Descartes had his revelation, even said the theory of relativity came to him in a dream, where he rode upon a beam of light across the cosmos. And Sir Francis Bacon, creator of the scientific method, once said in De Augmentis, "I must here stipulate that magic, which has long been used in a bad sense, be again restored to its ancient and honorable meaning. For among the Persians, magic was taken for a sublime wisdom and the knowledge of the universal harmony of things." Dude even gave a shout out to Persia. That's how you know it's real. Then there's Sir Isaac Newton, the guy who figured out gravity, and one of the guys who figured out calculus. I haven't forgotten about you, Leibniz.
I'll be your dream, I'll be your wish, I'll be your fantasy.
But talking about Newton, it's well known that virtually all the discoveries he made was part of a grander picture of trying to discover the Philosopher's Stone. The Philosopher's Stone, that mystical thing that inspired the first Harry Potter book that supposedly could turn anything into anything. Point is that Magic, wonky states of consciousness, and mystical thinking have inspired many of the greatest thinkers across the centuries. Brushes with magic have been catalyzing consciousness forever. If you think about it, those aha moments of inspiration are pretty magical. They're totally irrational, coming in a rush of revelation at often unexpected moments. The famous story of Archimedes, the Greek mathematician who invented the pulley system and all kinds of geometric proofs, tells of him stepping into a bathtub, then suddenly realizing that the amount of water displaced is equal to the volume of the object that displaced it. Then he ran naked through the streets, yelling, "Eureka! Eureka!" forever coining the term Eureka moment. Dude figured out volume. Where did this revelation come from? Was it magic? Judging by his euphoric, naked frolic through the streets, it certainly felt like it. And it certainly was not a methodical, quietly thinking kind of discovery. It just kind of happened, like getting struck with a psychic meteor. Yeah. And even in more modern times, Steve Jobs credits LSD as one of the top 3 most important experiences he's ever had. Now, obviously, LSD and these random flashes of revelation without the angels aren't necessarily what we think of as magic. However, they are revelatory. They are altered states of consciousness induced in various ways. Sometimes it just strikes you, sometimes you take something, sometimes you meditate for a few hours while searching for the Philosopher's Stone, and sometimes you're just asleep and you're in that wonky dream state of things, and then an angel comes to you and it's mystical stuff. It's magical. A more concise way of putting it is that changes in consciousness are often found alongside profound discoveries about the world. Logical revelations are emotional experiences. What if you could cultivate the clarity to achieve those experiences? That's where magical practice comes in. I'm not saying everybody could be Archimedes if they cast enough spells, but I'm talking about maximizing potential here. Everyone's got their own interesting spin on things, their own kind of aha moments that'll inspire a new paradigm for their life, and perhaps even the world at large. Glare on these is a little much. I'll take them off for you. Here's the takeaway from all this. If you want to understand the world or even just your life a little bit better, you should have your own Eureka moment. Go on, do it. Whatever problem you want to solve, just have that flash of inspiration. Come on. Come on. I'm just kidding. I'm being ridiculous. It's not that easy. How do I live the life I want? How do I stop being groggy half the time? Why do I take so much caffeine? How do I smoke less weed? I have to be better at focusing. I wish I was better at remembering birthdays. I wish I was smarter. Do I have enough money? Why am I anxious a lot? My dreams are weird and scary sometimes. Who am I? And who am I supposed to be? I just want to be better. With less doubt. A mind of crystal clarity, receiving unfiltered wisdom from hyperspace. With a being like that, I could become anything. That's what appeals to people about religion, right? It makes you closer to God. But magic is different than religion. Religions each have a holy book of higher knowledge. All wisdom to live a good life is contained within that holy book. Then there's a priesthood who claims higher knowledge of that higher knowledge. But magic is less rigid. Its nuggets of gold are spread across entire libraries. Its miracles are defined by experience, not by piousness. Though you can join a witch's coven or become a Freemason, the fruits of magic need not be felt with a group. Remember all that far-out talk of energy meridians and anchoring myself to the sides of the universe? All that was done with just myself and one $15 book I bought on Amazon. I didn't need to wake up early on the weekends to be with some congregation. I didn't need to accept the dogmas of any person or institution. My reaches towards the astral plane were done outside of the swirling fog of other people's expectations. A direct line to the divine. I'm not talking to you from the mountaintop, but it's made a huge difference. It's almost like magic. When I need to do something, it's easier for me to do. When I wake up on the wrong side of the bed, these weird practices balance me out in a big way. strangest of all, I wasn't expecting it to. Magic with a K might be one of the strangest things I've put so much time into, and that's saying something for a guy like me. Ever since I began my stroll down the path of arcane arts about 5 months ago, I've felt a clarity that I just thought people who weren't me were just born with. Information on magic is everywhere, but it's easy to get lost in the weeds. I joked about overpriced spell books earlier. I'm not saying that to rain on anybody's spiritual parade. I'm just saying magic is a state of mind. It's not something to wear on your ego. I would know, because I've only been doing this for a few months and I'm already making a video about it. Magic is a focus on esoteric practice. Show up, do the work, get the benefits. If it's all witchy fashion and no discipline, then you'll never be free. Your mind is a garden, so it's worth the effort to plant positive seeds. In my story you never knew about fairies, I talked about how God with a capital G replaced the oldest religions. The god of monotheism took root in people's minds to displace the ethereal creatures out in the wilderness. Magic, fairies, sorcery, all these things being older than ancient, these practices and nature spirits touched the instinctual part of us, but were paved over by a new religion that promised forgiveness in exchange for individuality. At least in the super olden days. It wasn't all bad. The obedience achieved by the monotheistic god probably contributed to the stability of large-scale civilization. Being a proper Christian or a good Jewish boy was a path that sort of helped tame unpredictable primal urges.
I'm available for sex all the time, basically.
To a certain extent, it was worth it. But now, monotony is the glue that holds modernity together. In our world today, we're given two metaphysical options. Does God rule all, or does science? Both will tell you that forests cannot be enchanted, which is super lame. Both will also tell you that rituals meant to cleanse and augment your consciousness are either total nonsense or the devil. But that's just what's mainstream. Why be normal? Is it weird to believe in magic instead of God? Is it weird to believe in both? Great! Being normal never innovated anything. That's a truth that lies outside of science and holy books, maybe even above them. The cultivation of one's consciousness is weird and magical, but that doesn't make it evil or foolish. To do it successfully means a healthy balance between heart and rationality augmented by the source of creation. A pretty grandiose idea, but sounds pretty appealing, huh? It's the dirty secret of many of the greatest rational thinkers. It's the religion before religion. Magic is the mind you can cultivate. It's your higher self, not other people's expectations of it. It's been the catalyst of consciousness revolutions that have crafted the world more than we understand. We've kept it distant, only allowing the transcendental to directly grace the minds of geniuses and clergy. We've left the average Joe to toil in the humdrum. Organized religion does provide a connection to the divine, but it requires you to join a group. And it puts an intermediary between you and the highest part of the universe. Magic, however, removes the middleman. Religion you have to believe, but esoteric practice you can simply do. It's a perfect practice for those who don't have much faith. But it works if you have faith too. It's all-inclusive, and that's pretty rad. Melding logic and poetry has become a weirdly obsessive life goal of mine. Doing all this crazy stuff has helped me do it. At least in my own head. Maybe I'm just babbling. But I don't think so. Which reminds me, it's time to fill you in on the rest of my super mystical journey. I was 1 month in, catalyzing my consciousness evolution with a sigiled book and other peripheral reading. I'd awakened my energy meridians, connected my breath with the sun and moon. With a mind that overlooked galaxies, I could pull energy from the tippity top of creation while grounded to the earth. I felt stabilized and energized. Now was the time to push further into unexplored realms of mind, which means pentagrams. Pentagrams have gotten a bad rap over the years, but all they are 5-pointed stars. The top point represents divinity, while the others represent the 4 elements: earth, air, water, and fire. Which brings us to the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. The LBRP is one of the big daddies of high magic. At least for novices like myself. There are many daddies beyond the LBRP, though I don't want to make this sound patriarchal, so I mean, it could be a mommy. There's many mommies above it also. This is getting worse by the second. The LBRP is a foundational exercise. That's what I'm trying to say. It looks like this. 4 pentagrams corresponding to the 4 seasons and cardinal directions are drawn. They burn away negative thoughts before they can enter. 6 archangels have also been invoked, 4 of which correspond to the seasons and cardinal directions, and a lot of other things. While the one above me represents pure divinity, and the one below represents the material realm. They all stand guard, each with their own flavor of energy. While this ritual is done in my room, the effects seem to follow me wherever I go. Sometimes I'll just be sitting in my room and get filled with the feeling that I love my life. That didn't happen before. You may be wondering if I actually believe there's a bunch of floating, flaming pentagrams burning away negative thoughts in my room while angels stand guard too. Well, I found that the more I repeat the ritual, the more my mind sees it as real. Every time I feel myself about to obsess over something bad or unnecessary, I automatically imagine the intrusive thought getting incinerated by flaming blue stars. My conscious mind understands how ridiculous this all is, while my subconscious just kinda rolls with it. If magic has taught me anything, it's that what's most real is how you feel. There's a barrier now between me and my demons. It's been oddly life-changing. I know this all seems like pretty far out stuff, but there's science to back it up. Doing esoteric practice successfully means entering a meditative state, and then focusing on whatever you want. Meditation objectively is a powerful technique to free the mind from unnecessary anxiety and depressing thoughts. Researchers at Harvard Medical School taught people to meditate, and here's some results. The left image here shows the amygdala, the part of the brain associated with anxiety, lighting up, while the patient is shown an emotionally distressing image. Compare that with the right image, which shows the same patient in the same scenario 8 weeks later after they learned and practiced mindfulness techniques. The amygdala is noticeably less upset. The data doesn't lie, and there's even more data to boot. Like a lot of data. There's a lot of data on this. Turns out it is possible to disengage, at least partially, with thoughts that suck. It's a skill that takes a day to learn and a lifetime to master. It's one I'll never stop doing. About 5 years ago, way before all this magic stuff, I learned to meditate, and I started doing it regularly. That was the most dramatic positive shift in my mental health ever. Being able to relax the mind at will opens up an entirely new perspective on life. While in those chill, focused states, it's possible to command the psyche in ways that are profound. Our minds wield our entire reality. Everything we experience gets filtered through them. Our heads should be a place worth being in. Energetic and focused, connected with ourselves and the universe. There is a craft for the mind, a cure for the mundane. It's an ingredient for novel, even genius inspiration. We need wizards and witches now more than ever. That's why it's important to understand. Higher realities are reachable through clarity and revelation. That's Magick. The story you never knew. Oh, what's up? Welcome to the outro. You should totally check out my tarot rabbit hole. It's weird and personal, remember? We talked about that. But that won't be out for at least a week from the posting of Magick, the story you never knew. So you can check out Fairies, the story you never knew in the meantime. It's got a lot of rewatch value if you've already seen it. That's how good it is. I'm Grant. It's been a pleasure. I will see you later. Yes! Yes! Oh my god. I'm excited for this channel. See you later.